How to get and stay motivated. There are plenty of articles, books, and blog posts on motivation that tell you how to become more motivated. Often, they give tips like getting more sleep and introducing new habits slowly. These ideas are all useful to an extent, but they ultimately fall short if you struggle with motivation and can't keep yourself focused on new tasks. Then a tip like this isn't going to transform your ability to focus overnight. And if you struggle to motivate yourself, how are you expected to keep up the changes that lead to greater motivation? It's something of a vicious circle, don't you think? If you really want to see changes, then you need to look a little deeper. You need to focus on the actual neuroscience that underpins our ability to get and stay motivated. In this report, you'll learn exactly how motivation actually works on a biologically level, and more importantly, you'll discover how you can manipulate that process to your own ends. Introducing the salience network. What we're interested in here is what neuroscientists and psychologists refer to as attentional control, or executive attention. This describes the ability we have to direct our attention and hold it, the control we have over what we choose to focus on and what we choose to ignore. So how does this work? It comes down to several frontal regions within the brain that control this function. Perhaps most notable is the anterior cingulate cortex, which has been the result of a fair amount of research. In fact, though, attention is controlled by two separate networks of brain regions in the brain, areas that work together in order to get the desired result. Specifically, these networks are referred to as the dorsal attention network, which includes brain regions that run along the top of the brain. Dorsal means top in biology, hence dorsal fin, and the ventral attention network. Understanding these two different attention networks is key because they have different purposes that clue us in on how to get superior attention. The dorsal attention network is concerned with our intentional attention. In other words, when you decide that you want to focus on a book for a while, or you choose to check the time, you are using the dorsal network. The ventral attention network, meanwhile, is used when our attention is directed beyond our control in a reflexive manner. But if you weren't born with a powerful salience network, then what can you do to fix this? Thank you for watching this video. There are more videos which can inspiring you.